Hey guys, Twelve58 here. Hope you're doing well. Today I want to comment on the new summoner that we saw. I am looking at it through X, and this is on Bulldog's post from 20 hours ago. I have seen Aftersound comment on this one, but I haven't thoroughly considered the options. And when he started talking about synergies, I just kind of turned it off because I wanted to give my first reactions really without any influence. So for what it's worth, I listened to a little bit of his video, but I want to talk about this card, what I think it's worth, and what I think the usefulness will be for the game. If that sounds interesting, stick around. My name's Dwayne. I go by Twelve58, and you can call me 12. And Eternal Tofu is the new, the next summoner to be released after the Darth Squirrel, or the equivalent summoner. I say equivalent because it's not actually Darth Squirrel. It's Bulldog's card, but they couldn't use Darth Squirrel, so they go risk cruel Drath, I guess is how you say that. Anyways, the next one to come will be Eternal Tofu, and it's going to be life with earth. I love the art. It reminds me of Kitty, obviously, but it looks more like less playful and more sassy. That's cool. It feels Splinterlands, right? Like Splinterlands has kind of its own unique visual aesthetic, and I like it. I like that we have some playful cards, some silly cards, but we also have a lot of really scary, almost serious or even scary cards. And I was just showing some of them to my 4-year-old, and he thinks some of the skull on the death team that has like 9 armor and 1 hit point, he thinks that one's super cool because it's scary. And then this is a totally different vibe. So what do you think this is? Is that supposed to be like, it's like magical hands and it's holding this thing? Or is that a collar that's holding this, like, essentially source of power? I don't know. Either way, I'm interested. Okay, so Earth and Life. I like the base stats. The extra hit points is significant. 2 is a big deal. And Snare, less of a big deal, but of course, direct an immediate counter to flying. And let's go into Peak Monsters, and we're going to look at Modern. And we're going to look at Monsters. And we're going to look at Earth and Life and Nooch. Earth, Life, Neutral. Let's focus on the legendaries and epics. These are kind of, of course, commons and rares are impactful, but some of the modern, the epics and the legendaries are going to be a place where things that really get interesting with synergies and abilities. And let's look at Max, because I like considering things from my angle. Wow. Anything with heal is going to really enjoy those extra 2 hit points. Snare is just kind of like, to me, Snare is a bit of an incidental thing. It's nice to have Snare, but it's not always the case that you're going to be able to use it for a counter perspective. Yes, of course, there are flying, and there is Drath, of course, offers the flying. And so you're theoretically providing a direct counter because the Snare is 100% hit chance on flyers. But I don't perceive it as likely that somebody's going to be rocking Drath over and over and over again. When you look at their last 5 battles, it feels like Drath is going to be a purchase or a selection that you're going to use from time to time. It's going to be in your arsenal. It's going to be successful in its own way. But I don't see this being a carry card, and therefore I don't see Eternal Tofu as a deeply important direct counter. Snare is great, and it is a direct counter, but if your opponent only uses Drath irregularly, then the Snare counter is irregularly necessary. So I find that the Snare is less important than 2 hit points, and so the 2 hit points become pretty interesting from when you start to look at who your healers are. Who would really benefit from that? Uriel the Purifier is getting up to 14. That's not another hit point heal, but it is getting close to that 15. With 1 strengthen, you've got that 1 more hit point heal. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if I guess I like this. I don't think that is the super important part of this card. Divine Shield is crazy and so powerful. And actually recently I've been talking about buying myself, what's her name? The summoner from the white splinter that has Divine Shield. There she is, Lorna Shine. What are you going for, Lorna? Side note, 63 bucks. I might just buy that soon if I can, because I actually play this quite a bit in my guild brawls. It's a wild card now, and I use it quite often. It's very powerful, and that's really reasonable price in my opinion. Okay, so back to the card at hand. So the Divine Shield on 3 cards, significant, man. And it's interesting because, you know, I'm more used to seeing like you can do this twice or once, but to have it 3 or 1, I feel like this is the more important kit with the Divine Shield alone. And think about the battles where you have Resurrect, where everyone has 1 free Resurrect, or where you can bring a Resurrector, like Rooney. So Rooney feels more powerful once you see an ability drop like that. Because if you can apply a Divine Shield to a Rooney, when it resurrects, it will have another Divine Shield. And so what that would look like... Oh yeah, I can't show Rooney here. When it comes back, it'll have its 1 hit point and an armor and a Divine Shield. So Rooney's already pretty nasty in the fact that it doesn't die easily, because it has, unless it's hit by magic, you're gonna break the armor, and then you got to kill the hit points. But in this case, you got the Divine Shield as well. So I would say that that's a really powerful combination to work with the Rooney. So I'm leaning towards saying that this is the pathway. So corrosive ward when hit with melee. This is pretty interesting. So the Divine Shield, in conjunction with the Corrosive Ward, in a main tank that could resurrect. So which by the way, with the Life and Earth team, there's plenty of resurrects. And this, even though this is, you're probably thinking modern, this can be played with wild. There's the most resurrects on this combination of teams. And so again, thinking through the Divine Shield being used maximally. Every time it gets resurrected, it's going to have the Divine Shield. And so if you have a Taunter that you put Corrosive Ward on with the Divine Shield, and you have 2 or 3 Resurrects on your team. Let's see, Resurrect. So Adelaide Brightwing, Commander Goff, that's not it. That's just the modern look. If we look at, if we go further into the wild, we get the High Priest, we get the Spirit Druid. That could be pretty interesting. That's maybe one way I would expect this to be utilized well. Using your taunts in Resurrection combo, and one Baradalin, Shield Bearer. I like it in those 2 contexts because you get a lot of armor as well as hit points. And again, Shield Bearer is a wild play, but still Baradalin's a modern play. And so strong, and then the Void Armor too, and the Corrosive Ward. It's interesting because like your opponent's main tanks are going to be punished by that. So I really like the Divine Shield play. I love it in conjunction with these 2 splinters because of their access to resurrect. The Corrosive Ward is less relevant, but it's important, especially with armor damage that happens, armor strike, etc. And from the triage and scavenge perspective, that's interesting to me for sure. Powerful, I think, but I think the 1 makes it less interesting than the 3. So I would like this in the context of maybe a smaller mana experience, and maybe you're going to use like a big monster who has, I think it's really important to have a self-healer with that scavenger. I'm busy, buddy. So if you had a big self-healer that had maybe last stand, I would be interested, because as your opponent starts to die, the scavenge could really take effect. So I'm interested in this, of course, but to me, this feels like the crown jewel of what this card will do. And that would be one context I would like to see it be used in, using the taunts and the resurrects in conjunction with the Divine Shield, and a self-heal in there would be amazing. I think you're kind of building a smaller, really resilient team with this card, and I think Eternal Tofu is going to be powerful because of that. I would say it's probably better than the Squirrel. I think it's probably more expensive ultimately than the Squirrel. I wonder what you guys think about that. So I haven't weighed in on Cryptic or Drath, or I don't even know if I spoke about Lorcus previously, but I'm going to say that I probably I'll at least say I like it better than Drath. True Strike's important. You know, I don't know. It's hard to say. I think Eternal Tofu is going to come in at a strong valuation. It might be better than, you know, 15, 20 bucks. 20 bucks early, 15 bucks later. That's where I would expect the Eternal Tofu price point to be. I like the combinations, particularly if you're using it in wild. If you're more of a modern player, I see maybe less sort of immediate functionality for it, but that doesn't mean it's not going to be great. I do think it's going to be good. And Earth with Life to me works a lot better than maybe Fire with Earth. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Have an amazing day. God bless.